I'm sure many in the Flat Earth community are fully aware of Jaron's latest live stream. As you see here, took place Christmas Eve, the Antarctica trip review, the so-called trip. Nothing more than smoke and mirrors at best. And of course, Jaron in his little dinky studio with the brick wall in the back for Freemasonry, and of course, even the placard here with his logo and the bricks. And of course, the guy that gets spotlighted on Netflix all over the media just so happens to have a 33 name. Just another amazing coincidence for all the coincidence theorists out there. Now, this was the supposed plane that was used to transport Jaron and Whitsitt to Antarctica along with all the globe shills. Just take a look here at the wing itself with the penguin, and it's coded for that 33. Even the paint scheme itself, you got the gold and blue and Pythagorean is 33, also in Chaldean 33. And going back in time, as you see here, Admiral Richard Byrd, during this TV interview, obviously the flat earth model right in the back, just like the sky clock with the two arms, one for the sun, one for the moon, as a circle above truth in plain sight. And just like many of these so-called truth speakers that are put out there, they give us truth mixed with lies. And Admiral Byrd talking about other lands beyond Antarctica, which is a lie, not biblical. And obviously he was a Freemason, as you see on this postcard with the Masonic square and compass with the G with Freemasonry. Take a look here in honor of Admiral Richard Byrd with this Freemason from England, the UK. And once again, the Freemason colors of blue and gold for 33 numerology when it comes to, once again, Pythagorean and Chaldean. And here again is the supposed plane that brought Jaron, Whitsitt, and the other shills supposed to Antarctica. Even if they went, obviously these people are not to be trusted. None of them. Obviously the globe trolls, Jaron and Whitsitt have zero credibility. They're liars. They are not to be trusted whatsoever. Either is Will Duffy. Here you see Jaron again with the bricks. And taking a look here at the tripods with the so-called time lapse. The sun is so fake here, it turns into a football in the sky. Give me a break. Absolutely ridiculous. You would spend, Will Duffy, supposedly hundreds of thousands of dollars to set this up, to set up a few tripods supposedly to get the 360 sun not setting in Antarctica, not buying it for a second, not believing these people at all. If you really want to truly prove we live on a globe, this is what you do here. You fly over, obviously, from South America to Australia. Case closed. End of debate. You don't go to Antarctica and film this garbage nonsense that looks nothing close to real. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute insult what they supposedly did in, quote, Antarctica. And this gets back to the fake depiction of Antarctica on the bottom of the globe in relation, the relative size comparison with the United States. We know from one coast to the other, east to west, it's about a 5.5 hour flight. So you consider flying over Antarctica from South America to Australia, just flying over the so-called land as it's mapped out on the fake phony globe. It would probably be like a 7-hour flight. So this would definitely take care of the debate once and for all, not dealing with garbage shills like Jaron as you see here. And that gets back to the first debacle with Behind the Curve, that Netflix hit piece on Flat Earth. Of course, if you're on Netflix, you're a sellout. Legit, real people do not show up on that multi-billion-dollar company's airtime to be shown for millions upon millions of people to see. And obviously, this is a photo shoot. This is not some organic photo that was taken. This was something where Jaron is posing precisely to show the right eye darken, like I mentioned before previously in my first video regarding this topic, with the blind the right eye, which all has to do with the coming Antichrist who's blinded in the right eye. Make no mistake about it. This is all by design with all the puppets. And again, Jaron being 33 numerology. Make no mistake about it. Getting back, like I mentioned, I'm going to be repetitive about this. It's very important to mention once again, for those that have not seen my previous video on the topic, where Jaren does this atrocious act, like this high school kid with this high school project cutting through that styrofoam and supposedly looking through all these boards, all these fences. That's being depicted, obviously, in styrofoam. But nonetheless, this failed experiment that, quote, proves the globe. And why didn't Jaren do this experiment prior to make sure everything went smoothly? Let's listen to the dialogue. And again, this horrible, horrible acting on Jaren's part. NASA does a better job with their actors than Jaren will ever be. Let's take a listen.
I mean, it's his. We don't see you, Enrique. Lift up your light way above your head. Interesting.
So Jaren says, interesting. Like I said, I have to be very repetitive about this. Why didn't you do this experiment prior? Before this is filmed for millions upon millions of people to see, to check the results to make sure you get the results and not be so, quote, surprised with the interesting comment. Either he's inept or he's a shill, and I'm definitely, obviously leaning towards a shill. This is 100% staged. Jaren or anybody so-called legit would not just, on a whim, just do the experiment in front of millions of people and not practice this prior. I really have to hammer that point. Now, and that gets to Will Duffy, as you see here alongside Jaren during this live stream. This man came out of nowhere and headed the so-called final experiment. Who is this individual? Supposedly a millionaire at the age of 33. Just another amazing coincidence when it comes to the numbers game. And another individual here on the globe side. Just take a look as you see here doing the one eye symbolism. Just like I mentioned with Jaren, and how people could be so blind, no pun intended. And let's take a listen to what Jaren has to say about Dave McKeegan.
Dave McKeegan is a good person. Wow. You sell out, Jaren.
You said it yourself, Jaren, and here you see Dave McKeegan in one of his thumbnails from his YouTube channel mocking the Flat Earth Truth, and Jaren's praising him as a good guy. Of course, they're all on the same team, and that's Team Deceive. And let's take a listen here, once again with Jaren, with someone else involved with the whole ridiculous garbage, the final experiment, one of the producers.
Mark, who is Candace Owens' producer, awesome.
And of course, Jaren's going to say awesome. Just take a look here at Candace Owens. Obviously, the photo with the Photoshop, with the covering of the eye, the one eye symbolism. Make no mistake about it. Just another puppet, another sellout. Raising her hands up, or his hands, to show the diamond sign for 33 in numerology. And obviously here with Charlie Kirk doing the same thing in a little bit different position. They're both doing the Masonic hand signs and obviously the black and white symbolism. Once again with Candace Owens. They're telling you with signs and symbols they're part of the club. They're not going to tell you through their mouths. This is what it's all about. As I've shown many times in the past with very famous Freemason Manly P. Hall, when the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of men. So, for those in truth that dismiss symbolism, that it's meaningless, it doesn't mean anything, you don't have a place in truth, in my estimation. You're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. You're not ready to be in truth in exposing these people for what they are if you don't understand symbolism. I'll make it that plain and simple for those that don't get it. And that gets back to Jaren's latest live stream where he goes after David Weiss extremely aggressively, name-calling, insults, and I have no doubts by design. It's planned to happen this way. Make no mistake about it. And this goofball, Owen Benjamin, another plant, he has absolutely no place in truth. He is just someone that loves attention, loves the spotlight, and he has implanted himself in truth because he is desperate for attention. And that gets on topic again with Jaren going after Eric Dubé also in the latest live stream. But something I found pretty interesting with the Will Duffy initial interview with Jaron, and I'm going to play this clip, and after you hear this, then I'm going to play another clip more recently from Jaron's latest live stream. It's going to make Jaron look very, very foolish. Let's get right to it.
If you want to get people who are the majority, yeah, I would say Eric Dubay would probably be better than me, but because he has a better reputation.
You just heard Jaron state that Eric Dubay is a better candidate to go to Antarctica because he has a better reputation. Now take a listen to Jaron just 2 days ago regarding the same man that has a better reputation. Let's take a listen to what Jaron has to say about Eric Dubay now.
Means that the model that we were given by the one and only true shill, Eric Dubay, who showed up in 2014, and here comes Eric Dubay, map in hand and 200 proofs in hand. And I say 200 proofs, and that's a little wishy-washy, because he changes them whenever he wants, and you let him. Because that's what flat earthers want, is liars. That's shilly. Repeating the same thing from your same book in every video you do, the same words with your same voice, that's shilly.
So you heard Jaron make a complete buffoon out of himself, saying how Eric Dubay has a better reputation, a better pick than himself. Now he's trying to trash Eric Dubay. What a complete joke Jaron is, and his nonsense is nonstop. And this is the part of Jaron's latest live stream where he goes on full attack on Wimpy Weiss. And make no mistake about it, this is meant to happen, planned to happen when it comes to the controlled flat earthers, to fragment it within that division. Obviously, I'm not part of that. I've been calling these clowns out for the longest time. Let's get right to it.
I won't be here much longer. And the reason is clear. The reason is clear. It's because of who you people have become.
So Jaron says he doesn't like liars. And he claims he's leaving the so-called truth movement. He's not going to be around, quote, much longer. Let's see if Jaron's going to tell the truth here, or he's going to continue to lie. And we know his sappy followers will forget this statement, and he'll continue to do live stream after live stream after live stream, and people will completely forget that he said this. I'm not. I'm going to hold him to it. You better be packing your bags and leaving, Jaron. If not, I'm going to constantly remind your followers that will continue to listen to you that you lied, like you always do. Now let's get to the aspect with Wimpy Weiss, where Jaron goes on full attack. Let's get right to it.
But I want to go through kind of the timeline, because some people can't get it right, and they say ridiculous nonsense. Dave Weiss, who said yesterday in an interview that, oh, anytime I call Austin, he answers the phone, and anytime I call Caleb, he answers the phone, but Jaron doesn't answer the phone when I call him. Dave Weiss, before you say nonsense that's just wrong, why don't you reach out to somebody who went? Why don't you reach out and ask me questions before you say things that make you sound stupid? You're actually putting information out that's wrong, causing others then to hear you and believe garbage. I heard you say yesterday that we left 2 days early. Where did you get that? It's not okay just to lie. It's not okay. It's disgusting. Disgusting. See, you may not like what I said. You said, oh, Jaron's bad at PR. I don't like what he said on the camera. The difference is, I'm telling the truth. See how that works? And if you don't like the truth, too far bad. When you say, you call me and I don't answer, that's a lie. See the difference? When you say we left 2 days early, that's incorrect. When you're like, what, is this the first year they ever had Starlink and never been able to have internet before, and then this year they have it? Yep. Yep, that's exactly right. The first year they had Starlink. Now, you think we're involved in some sort of a deception. This is no deception here.
And they put the actors in place.
What actors?
I don't like what Jaron said. He said, oh, you know, I came to Antarctica and
You don't like me being honest, Dave?
there was the 24-hour sun. I thought there wasn't, and I was wrong.
Right. So I was honest, and I got to get this abuse from these losers. who have never done oh, and then they got there and the camp was empty. Who the hell said that? Did you watch? You paid for the GoPro footage. Did you watch my GoPro footage? Did you see us fly in? Was the camp empty? There's 70 freaking workers there. They're there every year. These are not actors. These are not extras. They're workers who looked at us like, you can go there, Dave. Go there. Do a crowdfund. I'll be the first one to throw $200 in the kitty. People will pay for you to go to Antarctica. Then what are you going to say? Because your lies only work, your story only works until you've been there. And then you realize how goofy you sound. That's why I went, so that you wouldn't sound goofy. Oops.
Rock solid information. They backpedal. They change the globe post constantly, and don't think that this wasn't well planned. My hypothesis is this was planned for over a decade.
Oh, that's a good hypothesis. I'm sure you have good evidence for that. Planned for over a decade. For 10 years, they planned to send me to a little camp that's there everything in their life.
Didn't follow it up with, but the lights in the sky don't prove the shape of the floor. Just
because the lights in the sky can tell you about the floor. Just because you say differently, just because you're stealing a saying that we had to tell people you cannot say the sun is a sphere and so we're a sphere, you've just taken that, stolen it, and misapplied it.
The guy that showed up out of nowhere, the millionaire preacher.
What do you mean he showed up out of nowhere? Do you realize that no matter what, that would be the thing that somebody did? How did they not show up out of nowhere? Did he fall from the sky? I mean, well, that is showing up out of nowhere. So what? You're making a point of something that is required. If somebody comes into the flat earth conversation after you, then they showed up out of nowhere.
In his crappy little church that all he cares about is settling the debate, even though he's under federal indictment.
Federal indictment? Where's your evidence of that, Dave? Or are you just going to gaslight and lie about people?
Could be going to jail.
Could be going to jail, huh? You want to make a bet on that?
He said, I just did a little quick Google search and I found a dozen videos. And he did. He found a dozen videos by another character put into place, which works for TFE. No, not works for TFE, works for Union Glacier. Anyone remember his name?
He does not work for Union Glacier. How many times are you just going to say words?
The guy that
Do you understand this is not okay, guys? Because this is what you're doing is inflammatory. Anybody who's a flat earther who's watching this is buying everything you're saying. No wonder they're coming at me and calling me all these names. Dave, you are inciting it. You could have come to me and said, can I see your 6-hour footage so that I can eliminate some of the garbage I'm going to say?
Camp for those guys so the sun wouldn't go behind the mountain because the sun would dip behind them. But there's a lot of mistakes being made. All right?
I mean, why would you think that you from your house could have more info than the people who went? You didn't ask me. You just lied and told people that I don't answer your calls, which is false.
And before we continue on, I want to give credit to Aloha from Florida. As you see the bottom left-hand corner, he calls Jaron out properly, talking about the 2 failed experiments. Let's get right to it.
That our enemies, the people promoting the globe against flat Earth, they have the same guy now in 2 documentaries.
Oh, it's perfect for them.
Allegedly proving the Earth is a globe. Yeah,
it's perfect for them. It's perfect. It's great propaganda for them.
Because you say that. I didn't say that. I don't even believe in proof. So you're not talking about me.
And unfortunately, he fell into that. He's going to have to live in that for, a while.
I'm going to have to live in what? Being honest? Telling the truth? Oh, boy. I'm so scared. I don't give up.
But it's up to him how he wants to deal with it.
You mean by telling the truth and being honest? Okay, good. Done.
I consider the people on this panel my friends. If I call you Keith, what do? You answer the phone.
Listen
right?
to this.
If I call Caleb, he answers the phone. No matter what time of day it is, no matter what he's doing, he'll answer the phone. Right? I call Austin, he answers the phone. Darren doesn't answer the phone. Okay? That's
Look at this guy. I mean, you just told these guys, why do you think that I'm being gaslit, Dave? Because you can't be honest? Do you see the difference here between me and you?
But to not think that everyone in that place was in on it is naive.
Everybody. So what do you think the 70 employees are used to the sun setting, Dave?
And just take a listen to Jaron's commentary here when the AE map is discussed. This is really unbelievable. But again, this is Jaron's true side really coming out in the end.
Stephen, I'd love to hear your thoughts on,
Tell us more about how you put the globe on an AE map and think it means something. Not a professor, not a school, not a teacher.
That be the case where they amplified it?
Not
with
a PhD.
Plasma.
And you just heard Jaron's ridiculous commentary appealing to the mainstream school system, saying you're not a teacher, you're not a professor, you're not a PhD. This is absolutely ridiculous. Something Jaron claimed to be totally against the mainstream school system. Now he's appealing to the mainstream school system. Obviously, Jaron is a sellout. He has flipped the script. If people that follow Jaron cannot see this by now, you never will. And that gets into this, where we know Dave Wimpy Weiss pushes other lands, not biblical. And this is a huge aspect of the fake truthers. Just pulling things out of thin air. Stuff that is basically fantasy. And I've said it before, the fantasy is better than the reality for many people. And I've always stuck to things that can be proven. And that gets back to Jaron. Take a listen to what Jaron says here. Basically, a carbon copy of David Weiss just making up stuff. Things are not proven. And here's an example from Jaron from his latest live stream regarding his so-called trip to Antarctica. Just made up nonsense, made up garbage, all fantasy. Take a listen.
This is a mile deep of ice, a mile. What do you think's the easiest thing in the world for them to dig into and create underground bases? This is why John Kerry goes there. This is why Buzz Aldrin and all these guys, because they have a whole metropolis, I'm sure, underneath that ice.
So Jaron claims he's sure they have a whole metropolis underneath that ice. This is what the gullibles that listen to Jaron and also David Weiss, they love so much. The fantasy, again, because it's always better than reality. And their followers just listen to what they have to say. They don't question anything. They just sit back and listen with zero discernment. And like I've stated for many years regarding David Weiss, Jaron, and the rest of the crew when it comes to the fake flat earthers, what I have to make perfectly clear is the controlled opposition, nothing more than actors that get spotlighted in documentaries, as we know, with Owen Benjamin being a Hollywood actor, David Weiss, and Jaron obviously as well partaking in these controlled documentaries. David Weiss, as I stated many times, not a real flat earther. He says it out of his own mouth during this 2019 interview with CNN. He states here, I don't want to be a flat earther, David Weiss says, his voice weary as he so-called reflects on his personal waking. Would you want to wake up in the morning and want everyone to think you're an idiot? Why are you concerned what normies think, David? Why are you concerned about non-researchers that believe whatever the media tells them is true? You're concerned about what they think. Why don't you tell your followers during a Flat Earth conference that you don't want to be a flat earther? You're pandering to CNN. Obviously, David Weiss cannot be trusted, just like Jaron, just like Owen Benjamin. In conclusion, I'm going to play these clips. So there's no gray area when it comes to Jaron and what he believes as far as, quote, his flat earth globe beliefs. He makes it perfectly clear in this statement that he made during his last live stream. Let's get right to it.
I appreciate the effort you putting in taking the trip to, but I've heard you still believe in the flat earth. Is that true? No, the earth, well, at least as far as I can ascertain, the flat earth doesn't work. The globe, the sphere earth, perfectly describes the observations that I made. Do you need me to spell it out any clearer to you?
What's very clear is Jaron's a shill. This was meant to go down exactly, precisely in this time frame. They need their globe to pass off the fake alien invasion. This is exactly why they're doing it at this precise time. And like I stated earlier in the presentation, they don't just pick a random person out of the flat earth community to show up on Netflix. They have someone that's 100% controlled. As I mentioned about symbolism, they're controlling both sides of each debate. They have always done this. The globe side, obviously controlled, and the side of the flat earth, which is led by their controlled opposition.
John chapter 9, verse 25. Whereas once I was blind, now I can see. Now I can see.